All right, morning show at East Coast FM. As we heard yesterday, animals from County Wicklow are going to be featured in St. Stephen's Green, the live animal Christmas crib, which will include a donkey, 2 sheep and a goat, will be resurrected in St. Stephen's Green Summer House. The festive favourite was originally axed from its former home at the Mansion House, and that was because the Lord Mayor, Caroline Conroy of the Green Party, she didn't want it there, and she received widespread backlash. But now, there it is in Stephen's Green. Sandra Higgins from Go Vegan Ireland is on the line. Hello to you, Sandra. Good morning, Sandra. Yeah, there you are. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Having me on.
Not at all. So it's moved, still going ahead, but moved. What's your reaction?
Well, we're Go Vegan World is an animal rights organisation, and as such we object to the use of other animals as resources. So the animals in the live crib are being used as a source of entertainment, which is completely unnecessary. It's no different from any other animal use. But all animal use is unnecessary for human well-being. So it's on the grounds that they are being used that we object to it.
Right, we heard from the farmer yesterday with the farming family, and Fionn Sherlock said the animals are seemingly quite content and quite used to it, and almost walk into the locations and sit there all day and just wait to be brought home again.
That's not the point, actually. That's an animal welfare perspective, which is the antithesis of animal rights. The animals that we have corralled and exploited for our use, we own them. That's the essence of the problem, that we are their owners. And their owners are also their guardians. And the animals very often trust them. So they'll equally walk into a slaughterhouse for them. But how they're being treated is irrelevant. Even if they were being treated extremely well, they're still being used as a resource for humans, which is unnecessary. And, it's primarily targeted at children, and it's giving a very dangerous and inaccurate message to children. The OPW and the IFA have been quite open that they're doing this to promote the tradition of animal agriculture. And children are entitled to accurate information. Other animals are sentient beings. That means they have an interest in avoiding suffering, and they seek out pleasure the very same as we do. They feel the same as we do. Therefore, they have the right not to be harmed, not to be used as if they were inanimate objects, and not to be killed. And animal agriculture and animal use, which the live crib is promoting, and it's giving this message to children that this is something normal, natural and nice, it inflicts the worst possible suffering and the most vile violation of the rights of feeling beings for something trite that we don't need. So for entertainment, for convenience, for taste and for profit. Children have a right to know that the harm that we inflict on other animals, the secondary intersectional harms that is causing to our environment, and they should be offered alternatives. I think it's also very disrespectful to the original decision that was made. Now, I don't know whether the Lord Mayor is vegan, but she did say that the reason she objected to this is because it's unnecessary for us to enjoy Christmas. It's unnecessary to use other animals, and that is precisely the animal rights perspective. There are lots of alternatives we could use that will give children a very enjoyable experience, but also be educational and accurate.
Is this a good situation to be actually making that message and trying to get your message across to others? Because I would reckon that many people see it as very benign, and they don't see it as say equivalent to slaughterhouses and things like that. They just see it as recreating, if people believe in Christmas, recreating what they believe happened 2,000 years ago in a benign scenario, and they don't actually see it as an animal rights situation, and therefore you could actually have the message lost in what you're trying to do.
Well, if you compare it to the equivalent human rights violations, we never say that one person's experience of violence or rights violation is less than another's, because what matters is how it affects the individual. And what we're trying to do is abolish all forms of animal use. There isn't we don't have grades of animal use or specific scenarios of animal use. Obviously, the greatest use of other animals is in the food industry. That doesn't mean that animals who are bred into this world to be killed for their eggs, dairy or flesh is any worse than animals who are used for any other reason, for as pets or for racing or in zoos, for entertainment, for research. One form of use isn't worse than another. They're all unnecessary. They all cause unnecessary suffering. They all involve the human ownership of other animals, which is immoral.
You mentioned pets. Does that mean if you have a dog?
Vegans object to the use of other animals for any reason. And actually, where people really latch on are these the gross violation of animal rights that they very often see in television programs. So, they object to fox hunting, hare horsing, the breeding, puppy farms. So most people are against these industries. That's not to say, if you have a rescue dog or rescue cat and you look after them very well, that's not a good thing to do. That's a very good thing to do. It's very necessary. But deliberately breeding other animals for profit and human use is immoral. And
so there is a difference.
Agree with that.
So there's a difference. You say companion dogs for the blind. Versus the exploitation of animals like puppy farms. You do make a distinction, do you? No,
we don't make a distinction.
But does that not weaken your argument, that you not think that you will not get the support that perhaps you're entitled to in putting a campaign on for the better treatment of animals?
Well, no, our campaign is not for the better treatment of animals. We're a vegan organisation, so we support animal rights. And animal rights are about respecting the fact that other animals have an interest in their own lives and they are not our property. We are not entitled to breed them, use them or kill them, regardless of how we treat them. So it's not an issue of treatment. So by way of explanation, it would not be right for you to own a slave, even if you kept that slave in the most luxurious possible conditions. So it's not how you treat the slave, it's the whole concept of slavery that's immoral.
And what about a trading for love and board and welfare of looking after your pet? You trade having the animals, and you actually own it to protect it from being run over by a car.
No, the other animals are deliberately bred into this life to be used as humans. So make no mistake that by having a dog, we are doing, by, say, buying a dog who's been bred for human use, that you're doing something good. You're doing something immoral, which is quite different from rescuing a dog and having them as a member of your family and looking after them very well. Again, if you go back to the analogy of owning the human slaves, what's important is choice. And the animals in the crib do not have a choice. The dogs who are bred to be sold as human companions, they do not have a choice. The turkeys who are being bred for Christmas, the cows who are being bred so we can use their dairy products, the chickens who are being bred to lay eggs, they don't have a choice. And if they did have a choice, they would choose to live as free wild animals, which they did 10 or 12,000 years prior to our domestication of them. And this is the message that we should be giving our children, and that we would be giving our children if we really cared about giving them accurate information. For instance, children should be told that in Ireland, the greatest emissions come from the animal agricultural sector. Most people, when they think about doing something for the environment, they think if they can afford it, I'll buy an electric car. But the transport sector in Ireland only emits about 17%.
Yeah, okay, and we've been down that road before.
The animal agriculture sector emits 37.5%.
Yes, indeed, and we've discussed that on many occasions. But just to say, are modern zoos, have they any merit?
Well, there was a time when humans were used in zoos, not all that long ago. It was a form of racism. It's wrong to use another feeling being for a trite human entertainment, taste, profit, convenience, tradition.
Conservation?
Sorry?
Conservation.
I'm sorry, zoos don't play a role in conservation. Conservation is about leaving other animals in their own natural.
But if they don't have their natural environment in various continents where man has, of course, intervened and spoiled their habitat, and the only way for them to survive extinction is to have, zoos with a conservation ethos.
Well, you've bought into the propaganda of zoos, but actually a couple of years ago the owner of London Zoo said that he would ban zoos, that they're completely immoral. That there are ways of reducing the harm that we inflict on the earth, loss of biodiversity, environmental destruction. One of the most important ways that we can do that is to address our human consumption of fuel, of goods, and primarily of using other animals as food. But to corral animals in a zoo, take them out of their natural environment, restrict their natural behaviour, and gaze at them is immoral, and most people know that. And again, I say, if you really care about your children, you give them an accurate education, and don't give them the idea that other animals are like a toy tractor that you can play with.
All right, very good. Sandra Higgins, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, Jeff.
Best of luck to you. Thank you. Sandra Higgins there from Go Vegan Ireland.